So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Married Ino Yamanaka and Got Harem. So let's start the series. The clan head's big house was filled with the sound of a baby's crying. A black woman with black hair slept on the big bed in the master bedroom, exhausted and sweaty. She was given a crying blue bundle by a smiling nurse to her right. She said, "Here is your son, Lady Kaoru." Kaoru and Taijima, her spouse, grinned down at their weeping child. Her face was pale and slightly flushed from the strain of childbirth, and she had long, straight black hair and black eyes. She cooed at the boy, saying, "Look at him, Taijima, isn't he just the most handsome little thing?" Taijima, dressed in his usual off-duty attire, was grinning slightly. "He has a powerful set of lungs, and one day he will be a great warrior," he said with pride as he embraced his new family. He said, "So what should we name him?" After giving the infant a tender glance, Kaoru said, "Naruto, that will be this boy's name." To his wife and child, Taijima whispered, "Naruto? What a fine name." After 4 years, a young boy's voice yelled, "Tu-san, Tu-san!" as he ran to the clan head's home's back terrace, which had a view of the Naka River. This is Naruto Uchiha, the Uchiha clan's successor. He has black eyes, pale skin, and short, spiky black hair. In addition, Naruto is dressed in tan shorts, black ninja sandals, and a black high-collared t-shirt. Taijima grinned at his thrilled kid as he turned to his right. Ever since his wife passed away while giving birth to Haru, the youngest of his 5 children, he has been a constant source of joy for the family. He said, "Naruto, what is it?" The boy's eyes turned from black to crimson red as he said, "Look at what I can do!" 2 tomos were idly circling his pupils. "The red-eye power at the age of 4? Taijima said. 6 years old was the youngest to awaken the red-eye power prior to Naruto. Then Naruto exclaimed, "Isn't it awesome, Tu-san?" cheerfully. "Yes," said the older Uchiha, smiling. "I have to start your training tomorrow. Why don't you go play with Madara now?" Without observing his father's widening smile, Naruto nodded his head and hurried inside. One day, he thought, that boy will change the world. After 3 years / bank of the Naka River. As the rest of his family watched, Naruto stood on the bank grinning broadly. Madara, Izuna, Taijima, Haru, and Izuna's twin, Daisuke, were present. "All right, Naruto, we've trained your body and mind sufficiently enough. Now it's time for the coming-of-age test. Preform the Grand Fireball Spirit Art," the wise man Uchiha instructed. Naruto raced through a number of hand seals and threw his head back, his face etched with purpose as he confronted the river. He exclaimed, "Fire style, Grand Fireball Spirit Art!" and spit out a massive white fireball that dissipated the area of the river it touched in an instant. Naruto turned around and saw his family's amazed looks after canceling the spirit painting. The other siblings nodded in accord as Madara mumbled in awe, "Wow, Aniki, that fire was so hot." Taijima smiled proudly as he stepped up and put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. "That was a fine execution, Sochi. Come, we'll have the tailors stitch in the clan emblem onto your back. Later this week, we'll forge some armor for you," he said. Madara gazed up at Naruto with excitement as the family started to leave. He said, "Aniki, can you teach me that?" Naruto grinned and used the index and middle fingers of his left hand to prod the younger boy's forehead. He apologized and said, "Maybe later, Ototo. I'm going to be busy for a while." In response, Madara scratched his brow angrily and said, "You always say that." Then Naruto leaned down to Madara's ear, grinning broadly, and whispered, "Just between me and you, you're my favorite little brother. Well, that's because I'm always training, so that I can protect all of my siblings." Madara's smile grew as broad as his older brother's. Then I'll become so strong that I can protect you one day, he murmured. I'm sure you will, Madara. One day, you will be the one to bring peace to this war-torn and hateful world. I believe in you, Naruto said, ruffling the young boy's hair. Madara halted abruptly, and his eyes widened. He heard his family yelling for him to catch up after a few seconds, so he ran after them. It would be years before Naruto realized the impact his confidence had on Madara. 6 years later / field outside of Tanzakagai / Naruto, 13 years old. Naruto was expressionless as they stood in formation. He wore a dark purple piece of battle armor, black gloves, black shinobi sandals that covered his entire foot save for his toes, a black turtleneck long-sleeved shirt with the sleeves rolled up to just below his elbows, and black cargo pants. He had 2 neck-length bangs that framed his face, one of which covered his right eye, and his hair stretched out to his shoulders. In addition, he grew to 5 feet and 2 inches tall and developed a fro beneath each eye. Consider Madara's attire and hairstyle, including the shorter hair and purple armor, as well as the wrinkles that resemble Itachi's. Hideo Uchiha, Naruto's adversary and best buddy, was standing next to him. He had black eyes rimmed by tiny eyelashes, very short black hair, and a sly smile on his pale face. He wore a black breastplate that covered his body in addition to the traditional Uchiha suit. He said with a smile, "Oh, Naruto, how many wins and how many losses?" Naruto responded, 50-50. His eyes were languidly fixed on his comrade. With a smile, Hideo used his 3-tomo red-eye power. "The contest this time is to see who kills the most senju," he said. With a sly smile, Naruto used his own developed red-eye power. "You're on!" The 2 Uchiha were startled by the sound of a horn. Taijima yelled, "Get ready!" from the front. 2,000 senju ran toward them from a nearby jungle. "For the Senju clan!" yelled Butsuma, the head of the Senju clan. Naruto leaped to the front of his family as the Uchiha clan let out a loud battle cry. "For the Uchiha!" he wailed as he performed a seal with one hand. He yelled, "Fire style, great fire annihilation!" and spat out a massive stream of flames that rushed in the direction of the other clan. The area was filled with steam as Butsuma, looking shocked, yelled, "Water style users!" A number of senju rushed forward, broke through hand seals, and spat out an equally massive wall of water that blocked the fire spirit art. Butsuma said, "Keep your eyes open!" Out of the steam, several shurikens suddenly flew and embedded themselves in the necks of 10 senju. In the midst of the senju, Naruto materialized in a blur and brutally attacked them using a flurry of lethal Tai spirit techniques. He punched one of them once, crushing their throat, and kicked another hard enough to break their neck. He yelled, 12 and counting! What's your score, Hideo? His friend smiled as he used a kunai to decapitate a large man. 10, don't worry, I'll still win, he retorted as he used the Phoenix Flower spirit art to burn 2 more. Even though they lost a few members, the Uchiha eventually took the lead after a few minutes. Naruto turned his head after using a single fire spirit art to slay 10 of his adversaries. As he watched his companion, who had lost his armor, be impaled through the chest by a senju brandishing a sword, he trailed off. 100! How many do you have? Huh! He cried out in fear. Hideo! And quickly stabbed the senju in the neck with a kunai. Naruto fell to his knees as he ran up to his friend. He said frantically, "Don't worry, we'll get you back home," before continuing. With blood streaming down his chin, Hideo started to giggle softly. He saw an adversary sneaking up behind Naruto and, in a final act of defiance, threw a shuriken into their foreheads, saying, "I don't think so, I've got 102, by the way." Before he died, he muttered, 101, I win. The wide-eyed Naruto's ears rang silently with the noises of battle. He started shaking Hideo's body and sobbed. Wake up, idiot! This isn't funny! Come on, Hideo, we need to get you back to Aunt Tsukino. His eyes started to hurt when a green-armored senju behind him screamed angrily and raised a sword in the air. Suddenly, Naruto was surrounded by an ethereal black ribcage that stopped the falling sword. The Uchiha rose and gave the surviving senju a menacing gaze. Indra's alleged MS caused his red-eye power to change into a spiral design that formed from his pupil. He had no idea how the words came to him, but he knew the name of the technique without thinking. The skeleton structure developed into a black armored figure that totally covered his body, and he yelled, Susanoo! As his eyes started to bleed blood. Then Naruto yelled, Senju! Prepare to die! As a blade of black flames materialized in its left hand. The legendary Mangekyo Red-Eye Power! Taijima thought as her eyes widened at the sight. Only our ancestor Indra attained this secondary level. How did he get it unlocked? A wounded Butsuma cried out, Retreat! As his fellow clansmen fled. As the Susanoo raised the flamed sword, Naruto muttered menacingly, None of you shall escape. 20 of the 500 senju that were left were burned when he whispered, Blaze style, Kagetsuchi. And the Susanoo slashed its blade, launching a surge of black flames ahead. Luckily for the senju, Naruto's Mangekyo passed out from chakra exhaustion, deactivating the ethereal construct as well. His clansmen cheered when Taijima declared, The Uchiha have won this battle! Collect out wounded and dead! We're coming home! As he saw their opponents flee. After a week, with a start, Naruto opened his eyes and saw Madara cuddling up to him. He stroked his younger brother's hair with his fingers while grinning. When he heard a cough, he turned to face his father, who was giving him a harsh look in the doorway of his bedroom. He said, How long was I out? 1 week, not surprising considering how much chakra it must have taken to use the Mangekyo Red-Eye Power, Taijima responded. Naruto's head cocked. He asked, Mangekyo Red-Eye Power? The more senior Uchiha nodded and responded, Yes. The Mangekyo is the fabled second stage of the Red-Eye Power according to our sacred stone tablets. You awakened it during the last battle. You are the first person to do so since the first Uchiha, Indra Otsutsuki. Tell me, what is the last thing you remember before using its powers? I remember feeling unbearable sadness and rage at Hideo's death. Naruto mumbled as he glanced down. I see, it appears that the intense emotions brought about by losing someone very close activates the Mangekyo. It's best that we tell everyone that it happened randomly. If they knew that losing someone very close to them was the price of the Mangekyo, they'd be killing each other left and right. Once you're better, you should work to master your powers. I'm glad you are okay, Sochi. Taijima spoke softly prior to leaving the room. Naruto started stroking the young boy's hair again after glancing down at Madara. Unaware that Madara was awake and could hear everything he and Taijima spoke, he said gravely, I'll master these powers. I'll use Hideo's gift to protect the 4 of you. Because I love you guys more than anything else in the world, this I swear. As he completed the last of his terrible papers, Taijima let out a sigh. The last time Dad saw his oldest son was 2 years ago. The older Uchiha granted Naruto's request to embark on a training journey to hone his elemental spirit art and his newly discovered abilities after he awakened the Mangekyo. Taijima gave a little grimace. He is still unsure of how he will inform Naruto that the Senju killed Daisuke and Haru a year ago. He yelled, Enter! When he heard a faint tapping on the wooden sliding door. The sight of the guest caused him to exhale. Naruto came back with the appearance of a proud Uchiha warrior. He simply wore his usual attire, excluding the sandals. Imagine his armored attire from the previous chapter. Until I'm stating otherwise, that's what he always wears. In addition to growing to a height of 5 feet and 7 inches, Naruto's hair reached the middle of his back and was styled in a low ponytail, similar to Madara's, but with his hair pulled back in a ponytail. The 15-year-old said in a fairly deep voice. It's good to see you too, San. How has the clan been? It's been all right, my son. Madara and Izuna have missed you greatly. Madara is even turning out to be a prodigy like you are. Not as big of a prodigy as you are, but a prodigy nonetheless, Taijima said with stoicism. As his eyes bled into the renowned crimson red-eye power, Naruto narrowed them. He asked slowly, You only mentioned Madara Tuto and Izuna Tuto. What about Daisuke and Haru? Where are Madara and Izuna? His father winced. Daisuke and Haru, as well as Madara and Izuna, are on a mission. The Senju killed them a year after you left. We didn't know where you were, but I would have sent a messenger hawk to you, he replied somberly. With his hair casting a shadow over his eyes, Naruto said menacingly, When can we expect to face the Senju again? Near the boundary between the land of rice and the land of fire in 3 days. Why? Taijima raised an eyebrow in question, although he was already aware that his heir was seeking blood. With a ferocious grin on his pale face and his Mangekyo flashing darkly, Naruto turned to face his father and said, I'm sure you wanted to see the entire scope of my new powers? Join me for the fight. I'll go alone with you. With a voice full of bloodlust, he declared, I'll destroy them all. Taijima gave a nod. Excellent. I'll trust you if you have that much faith in your skills. Remember, we're talking about Butsama's youngest child and 4 of the best in the Senju clan. He cautioned. Even I would struggle against them. Nobody can stand against me with Hideo's gift, Naruto said, smiling at him without emotion. However, I must admit that after using it, my vision has recently gotten worse. Before leaving, he said, I think that using a Mangekyo can lead to eventual blindness. 3 days later / near the Land of Fire's border. Standing side by side in their typical fighting gear in a spacious clearing, Naruto and Taijima were regarded with amusement by the Senju fighters across from them. Only 2 Uchiha came for us? Moreover, the leader of the clan and another unknown individual? This will be simple, the leader boasted. Sir, we must exercise caution. A young guy wearing green armor, with bushy light brown hair and an X-shaped scar on his right cheek, cautioned. That boy's chakra feels dangerous. Every last instinct of mine wants me to run. Kawarama, stop worrying so much. Another one drooled casually. After all, we are the best Senju. Sen, you have already witnessed my Amaterasu and Susanoo, but nobody in my 2 years of traveling have ever seen my other power and lived to tell the tale. Naruto grinned darkly as he surveyed their formation, which consisted of 2 rows of 2 ninja with Kawarama in the center. His eyes changed into the Mangekyo, and his left eye started to glow as he muttered, Bishamon. In his right hand, blue energy started to swirl and grew until it formed a giant sword that resembled a cleaver, with bandages wrapped around the handle and blue chakra flickering off of it like tiny flames. Naruto pointed the sword at the row farthest to his left and raised it into the air, channeling his chakra into the tip. Getsuga Tenshi! With a shout, he swung the enormous blade downward, causing a huge wave of chakra in the shape of a crescent to sweep forward, obliterating the 2 startled Senju and leaving a large trench in the ground behind. Jin! Hello! The leader let out a horrified cry, as did his final 2 subordinates. What devastating power! So you can summon an ethereal blade to your aid that has its own special powers? Taijima asked, looking surprised. You're almost right. I can call forth a lot of swords. While most of them lack particular abilities, some do. However, utilizing them all at once would be a death wish for any opponent I would encounter. Unfortunately, I am unable to utilize more than half of Bishamon's full potential. Naruto replied icily, glaring at the Senju who were still alive. No matter, it's enough to deal with these fools. Kawarama, run! We'll do everything we can to keep him away. As he and his other adult companion moved into a combat posture, the leader gave the order. It looks like Taijima is just watching for the time being, so that might buy us more time. I can't leave you here against him, the child said, giving them a determined look. We all three might. It's an order, the leader let forth a bark. Godspeed, Hiroshi, Kamami. Behind them, the young Senju ran into the jungle and yelled. You do know that I'm going to hunt him down and slaughter him after I'm done with you, right? Nerd asked, grinning amusingly at the two. With a kunai firmly in his palm, Kagami, the leader, declared resolutely. By the time you are done with us, he will have already escaped. We shall see, Nerd said, replacing the cleaver in his hand with a pure white katana that had a long white ribbon running from the handle's bottom. Shirayuki no Sodi, Jahaku, he yelled as he stabbed the ground with his sword, leaving a trail of ice that traveled over the ground at a breakneck speed. Kagami jumped aside and said, Hiroshi, get moving! It was in vain because his subordinate was frozen on contact within a huge pillar of ice before he could even scream because he lacked the reflexes to avoid the ice assault in time. The Senju's top brass? It is either that you are simply too weak or that I am a lot better than you. You're next, though, Nerd said menacingly before disappearing in a flash, reappearing right in front of Kagami and slashing his katana downwards, barely deflecting the strike with his kunai, which trembled under the force the teenage Uchiha was applying to the fight. What are you doing? Are you a monster? Kagami gritted his teeth and demanded. With a sinister grin, Nerd answered the man. Towards the folks who killed my young brothers? Until I have my revenge, I will turn into the devil himself. The Uchiha ignored his opponent's cries as he repeatedly stabbed the ground in a semicircular pattern, holding the sword up around the height of his head as ice particles flowed from the holes in the ground and gathered onto the tip of his blade. Nerd kicked the man in the chest with enough force to cause him to drop his knife and slash the Senju multiple times, slicing through the armor and leaving ice creeping out of the wounds. He yelled as he thrust his blade forward, and the accumulated ice burst into a torrent of icy wind, instantly turning Kagami and a number of trees behind him to ice. Come on! After dismissing Sodi no Shirayuki, Nerd said, We have a little rat to find. Which caused everything wrapped in its ice to break apart. In the interim, as a sensor, Kawarama sensed the enormous waves of freezing chakra from where he left his colleagues, felt their two chakra signatures abruptly vanish, and sensed the Uchiha rapidly coming as he rushed through the forest as quickly as his trembling body would allow, heading for the rendezvous spot. The boy with the brown hair started crying and mumbled, I just want to see Tobarama and I, Itama and I, and First Headmaster and I again. I'm really afraid. As the little Senju stopped running and swung a kunai at the two Uchiha in front of him, a voice said ominously, You should be scared, brat. Even if I might die here, I won't give up easily. With a trembling yell, Kawarama ran towards the teenage Uchiha who was standing in front of him with the cleaver blade at his side. Nerd said icily, raising the blade a little, I don't like killing children, but you are my enemy, and I'm out for blood. Squelch. With wide eyes, Kawarama ran a little past Nerd, separating his torso and lower half at the waist with a shower of blood. Nerd threw down the sword and raised his mangekyo to look down at the lower half, saying, I think I'll leave them with only half of you to bury. As his right eye started to hemorrhage and black flames engulfed the dying boy's lower body, he mumbled, Amaterasu. Nerd grunted and fell to his knees as his eyes began to throb. Sochi, what's wrong? Taijima knelt down to his son's level and asked with worry. It's starting to happen. My vision is going bad because of the use of the mangekyo, the younger Uchiha said, frowning and blinking a few times. I have observed that activating the Bishamon specifically speeds up the progression of blindness. He replied grimly, I think I probably have a couple more uses before I go completely blind. Do you know how to make it better? His father asked, frowning just as deeply. Nerda nodded and said, I have one that might work, but the clan might not approve of it. It might be possible to solve the issue if I swap my eyes for those of another Uchiha. However, since there would be less danger of their eyes being rejected, it would be preferable if we used the eyes of a close relative. Well, in the event that our adversaries turn to grave robbing, we do store the eyes of our dead family to prevent them from getting them. That, and for situations like this one. As he assisted his kid in getting to his feet, Taijima said, Now come, our mission is accomplished. Yes, I certainly hope that Madara has completed his mission. As the two Uchiha leaped into the forest, Nida nodded and stated, I want to spend time with him. 3rd day/compound Uchiha clan. Nida smiled as he walked through his house wearing a black long-sleeved kimono top without a clan emblem, revealing part of his bare chest with a matching sash, tan pants, and wooden Geta sandals. He entered a rather empty room where he saw his beloved younger brother, who was reading a spirit art scroll on the bed, his hair growing out to his shoulder and still spiky. Madara, who was tall for his age, was dressed similarly to Nerdu, with the exception that his top was dark blue and he wore black thong sandals. Come out with me, Madara. Nerdu informed the youngster that there was an excellent place to skip stones on the banks of the Naka River. Eschewing stones? Sure, wait. Madara looked up from his scroll and saw his big brother in front of him with a wide smile. Aniki, the younger adolescent, yelled and threw an embrace at the older Uchiha. With softened eyes, Nerdu caressed Madara's hair and laughed, saying, Look at you, you've grown nicely, Ototo. I've missed you. I didn't know if you were going to come back or not. Madara sighed. Oh Madara, until I see you mature into the admirable man I know you will be, I will never die. You have a fire affinity that is only a little bit lower than mine, and I'll tell you what. Would you like to learn one of my original spirit art pieces? Nerda said. I sense that you have the chakra capacity to at least learn it. Madara's eyes were wide with tears as she gazed at him. You mean? That's correct, said the elder Uchiha, grinning as he nodded. His younger brother cheered as he said, Enough of that. I'm going to teach you great fire annihilation. Let's go now. As he took the youngster out of the house, Nerda laughed. Naka River bank, 30 minutes later. As Madara tried and failed to throw a rock to the other side, Nerdu sat on the rocky bank and grinned. Next time, I'll make it to the other side, Madara said as she repeatedly threw a rock up and caught it. The two brothers skipped all the way to the other side, but then a rock was thrown from behind them, and when they turned around, they saw a tan-skinned boy with a black bowl-cut hairstyle and an outstretched arm, who grinned and said, The trick to getting it is to aim a little higher when you throw it. I am aware of that. It will arrive if I truly desire it, Madara gave a frustrated bark. Nerda gave the child a questioning glance and inquired, Anyway, who are you? I suppose you could say that right now I'm your competitor when it comes to skipping stones, but unlike your friend there, we survived, the child gave a happy response. When the Uchiha brothers said, I mean your name, they were deadpan. With a bashful laugh, the boy introduced himself as the first headmaster. I am unable to provide my last name to you. Hey, first headmaster? Now it appears that I will survive this time. Madara hurled the stone across the river about 3/4 of the way while shouting sternly. Shuriken spirit art, the first headmaster thought, narrowing his gaze a little. Madara remained motionless for a few seconds before quickly whirling around and looking irate. Bastard! I thought you were standing behind me to mess me up, didn't you? If someone is standing behind me, I'm the type of guy who can't even take a leak. He let out a funny yell. With a melancholy fog hanging over his head, the first headmaster was suddenly sitting on the ground, cradling his knees to his chest and murmuring, I'm sorry. Don't be upset. I'm sure my little brother didn't mean anything by it, Naruto said, giving the boy a reassuring pat on the back. The first headmaster informed him glumly. I didn't know that your brother had such annoying mental issues. I am unable to determine if you are a good or bad person, jerk. Once more, the younger Uchiha let forth a hilarious scream. But you do realize that I'm better than you at skipping stones, the first headmaster said, leaping back to his feet and laughing merrily that he yelled, causing Naruto to start laughing as well. I'll use you both as the stones the next time, Madara yelled. A black cloud hung over first headmaster and Naruto as they both assumed fetal positions. I apologize, and to make amends, I'm willing to be tossed into the river. Go ahead, mumbled the first headmaster. Naruto said sorrowfully. Madara Otuto, your mean words wound me. Stop being such a crybaby, Aniki! And you! I can't stand you, go away, Madara said, gesturing to the pouting first headmaster. With the words, all right then. The first headmaster started to drag his feet in the direction of the woodland behind them. No, wait! Yelled the younger Uchiha, grabbing his new friend by the collar. With a sorrowful expression, the first headmaster turned his head and asked, Well, do you want me to leave or not? Did he ask? Hey guys, look at the river, Naruto said gravely as he got to his feet and turned to face the river with stony eyes. The first headmaster surprised the two Uchiha by running forward and across the water when the younger youths noticed an armored corpse floating face down in the river. The Hagoromo clan, you two ought to head home, he said. War will get here shortly. See you later. What are your names? He said, jumping to the other side of the river. Did he ask? This is my Otsuro, Madara, Naruto said with a smile. The shinobi code prohibits us from disclosing our last names to strangers, thus we are unable to do so. With a smile, the first headmaster turned to face his two acquaintances and said, So, you two are shinobi as well. He then fled, with the Uchiha following in his wake. After 1 hour, with grim faces, Naruto and Taijima entered the compound's infirmary. The elder Uchiha turned to the physician and inquired, Did you get the eyes back? Here they are, the doctor said, nodding and pointing to a jar of green liquid that contained 2 mature red-eye power eyes floating within it. Is that correct, Hideo? Naruto went to his father in disbelief and said, You're giving me Hideo's eyes? He asked. Obviously. Hideo is my nephew, and your younger brother's eyes weren't developed enough for a transplant. In addition, Taijima said, I'm sure he'd want you to have them should you need them. Very well, Naruto replied as he moved forward and laid down on the surgical table. Hideo was placed under after saying, I will use Hideo's newest gift to protect my family, my clan. After a week, the doctor in front of them grinned and said, Well, Naruto-sama, your new eyes should be properly healed by now, so you're free to remove the bandages. Taijima and Naruto were standing in the hospital again, their eyes bandaged. Taijima gasped when the Uchiha heir opened his eyes as instructed by the doctor, saying, Naruto, your eyes have changed again. Naruto approached a nearby mirror and raised an eyebrow, saying, This is different. The Mangekyo now looked like a typical 3-tomo red-eye power, but the tomo had been swapped out for 3 tiny spirals. Additionally, I think these eyeballs are far more potent than my previous Mangekyo. As he glanced at his discarded bandages, which were suddenly consumed by black flames, he said, I need to test them out, Amaterasu. Susanoo. A black ribcage also quickly encircled him, which he immediately deactivated. And finally, Bishamon! He called out, causing Sodi no Shiryuki to appear in the space above him. Very fascinating. Every time I utilized one of the Mangekyo's techniques, I experienced agony, which was followed by a minor decline in my vision. My eyes aren't getting weaker, and I don't feel any pain anymore. In addition, my Mangekyo skills have improved significantly. As the blade vanished, he said in wonder, This is a new kind of Mangekyo. It was surprising. What would you call this new red-eye power stage? The physician inquired. It will be called the Eternal Mangekyo Red-Eye Power, due to the eternal sight I now possess, Naruto said with a smile. After 2 days, the boy was looking glumly into the sea when Naruto and Madara approached the same bank where they had first met the headmaster. First headmaster, what's wrong? With concern, the oldest Uchiha brother inquired. The first headmaster said aloofly, It's nothing. After taking a seat beside him, Naruto remarked, You can talk to me, I'm a good listener. After a few seconds of silence, the younger child said, My younger brother passed away. I came here because I feel like all of my hazy feelings are washed away when I look into the river. Madara and Naruto are your names, correct? Are there any other siblings between you two? After a moment of sadness from the two youngsters with raven hair, Madara responded, We have 3 other brothers, younger siblings to be precise, or I should say we had 3 other brothers. We're shinobi, the 2 brothers said, picking up a rock and making their way to the bank's edge. We could pass away at any moment. To a wide-eyed first headmaster, Naruto said, The only way not to die is to show your enemy what you really think and feel, without hiding anything, and become allies with them. Madara mumbled as the 2 brothers flung their stones across the river. But that's impossible, because it's not possible to see what a person really thinks and feels deep inside. You don't even know if they see that all, he said, as the brothers reared their hands back. Is it truly hard for us to express our true feelings to one another? Curious, the first headmaster inquired. I don't know for sure, but I believe that it can happen one day. The 2 brothers grinned as the 2 rocks struck the opposite side. I've been coming here for a while because of it. Because it gives me hope that our ideas will reach the other side of our conflicts when the stones reach the other side. Naruto remarked with enthusiasm. It appears that there is at last a method for it to occur. Madara concluded in a low voice. Not just you 2, but I have also reached the other side. I've found 2 people who understand me, exclaimed the first headmaster. After 2 weeks, the Uchiha brothers had been meeting with the first headmaster every day at the same location for the past 2 weeks, and the 3 of them had rapidly become close friends and developed their talents together without disclosing their last names. At the moment, Naruto was seated across from a battered first headmaster and Madara. You 2 are quite skilled with Tai spirit art. Still below my level, but far above normal for your age. As he closed his eyes and opened his senses, Naruto said to his brown-haired student, First headmaster, you have a very powerful earth and water affinity along with something else I can't quite identify, but it feels very connected to nature itself. Don't worry though, lasting as long as you did is more than what most people can say. His praise made his 2 companions smile with joy. Now, it's time to work on Nin spirit art. Naruto-sensei, how can I train my affinities? Did he ask? I have a strong secondary affinity for water, but I can't tell you anything about earth. Attempt to moisten a leaf using chakra. Learning how to transform your normal chakra into an elemental chakra is the goal of this workout. With practice, you should be able to see your chakra as a gentle wave. Do it now. The first headmaster sprung into a salute and ran to the trees to pick a leaf as Naruto barked. Now, Madara, your fire affinity is slightly weaker than mine, even if you don't have a secondary affinity. I am able to teach you the great fire annihilation because of this. We'll get right into the spirit painting since you already know how to manipulate fire as an element. He gestured for Madara to join him and said, Come. Pay attention, Naruto remarked as they came to a halt at the rim of a cliff that overlooked the river. The Great Fire Annihilation is my particular favorite of my 3 original fire-style Nin spirit art pieces. It's extremely easy in principle. The Grand Fireball and the hand seals are identical, however the shape manipulation and chakra consumption are different. When you are shaping chakra, see a massive moving wall or a wave of fire rather than a ball in your lungs. It may be performed with a single horse hand seal once you have mastered it. In this manner, Naruto sealed his hands and inhaled deeply. Fire style, Great Fire Annihilation. Now you try, he demanded, roaring and launching a huge wave of white-hot fire for a few seconds before dispelling it. After going over the necessary seals, Madara inhaled deeply. Fire style, Great Fire Annihilation. The younger Uchiha took a knee and gasped. That is one tough spirit art, and I never even got close to your level, he yelled, making a wave about a fourth as large as the one Naruto had generated. You did much better than I did on my first try, Naruto said, bending over and ruffling his younger brother's hair. I almost blew up my head. Additionally, I spent 2 years doing this spirit art. You have my admiration. His younger brother gave him a joyful expression as he exclaimed. Naruto-sensei! I succeeded, the first headmaster yelled distantly. First headmaster, well job! Have a rest, Naruto responded with a shout. After a week. Wow, you can see so much from here, said the trio as they perched on a tiny peak that overlooked a vast area of forest. Madara nodded in accord as the first headmaster cried out in wonder. Naruto's eyes widened abruptly, and he murmured, Guys, I've found the answer. What is the response, Aniki? Madara raised an eyebrow in question. The answer to how we can end this war-torn era, the elder Uchiha exclaimed, leaping to his feet and pointing to the forest just beneath the mountain. We'll construct a town down there where clans can unite with the shared objective of defending the village and its residents. Instead of putting the squad in a potentially fatal situation, we can allocate missions according to their level of skill. We can create a ranking system and establish an academy where kids can learn to be shinobi so they won't be deployed to the front lines, Naruto exclaimed with informed vigor, igniting his friend's enthusiasm for the concept as well. The daimyo and the highest-ranking shinobi can elect a single leader, who will be assisted in running the village by a council. With a broad smile, the first headmaster added. Madara said seriously. And I can always watch over Izuna and Naruto in this village. And Naruto nodded in agreement. Yes, the residents of this village will also be our family. Once it's constructed, the 3 of us will always keep them safe. And when the time comes, we will pass on our strong will, which gives us the courage to defend the village and our loved ones, to the following generation. Naruto resolutely continued. We ought to name this will. Curious, the first headmaster asked. The Will of Fire, because fire is the embodiment of the passion we all possess, the unquenchable need to love and nurture our future villagers, Naruto said, smiling gently as the breeze caused his hair to sway with the falling leaves that circled about them. I'm not sure why, but I feel uneasy about the upcoming weeks. It is your responsibility to transmit the will of fire to the generations that will come after us if something were to happen to me. Are you able to do that? He asked quietly. Hi, Naruto-sensei, with determination, the 2 younger teenagers yelled. Madara informed his brother gravely. But you better not let anything happen, Aniki. It wouldn't feel right if you weren't there to see our dream come to fruition. The first headmaster added. What he said, sensei. Naruto brushed both of their hairs and smiled, saying, I'll try my best. It would be disastrous to leave the village to my 2 knucklehead otutos, he said. The first headmaster's eyes widened as Madara erupted in rage, saying, He called me otuto? I've always wanted a big brother. Now hurry up. The boys followed Naruto down the mountain after he urged them. We should head home before it gets dark out. That evening / Taijima's studies. I know about your meetings with that boy, first headmaster. Their father looked at them sharply as Naruto and Madara sat on two tatami mats across from him. How? Naruto inquired. For the majority of the day, I had one of our shinobi follow you, but once you three ventured into the woods north of the Naka River, he lost you. The two lads gasped when Taijima said, I did some research and found that the first headmaster is the Senju clan's heir. First headmaster is a Senju? Naruto asked himself as his feelings started to conflict. Madara tightened her fists in anger as she thought. He is a member of the bastard clan that killed Haru and Daisuke. You two will accompany him to the Senju compound tomorrow in order to learn more about their intentions. I'll accompany you with Izuna to make sure you'll follow instructions. Dismissed, said the clan head. Exterior. He is a Senju, the ones who killed Haru and Daisuke along with Hideo, but he is nothing like how I envisioned a Senju to be. In fact, he became my best friend, another little brother. He is my student. Naruto thought as he walked around outside, accompanied by Madara. First headmaster, it may be new, but it exists nonetheless. That boy burns with the will of fire. I will not allow something to happen to him as long as I live, he thought, finally overcoming the curse of hatred, as he started to etch a message into the rock with a kunai. Naka River bank / next day. On either side of the bank, the Uchiha brothers and the first headmaster stood solemnly. Naruto said to the boy, First headmaster, let's skip the usual greetings and skip stones. The boy nodded, and they threw their rocks simultaneously, catching them. Both boys looked at them and were surprised, but they didn't show it. Before the three hurried out, the first headmaster said coolly, Naruto, Madara, I can't stick around today. The boys turned around when four figures suddenly landed on the water behind them. Taijima and Izuna were standing on one side with their blades out, while Butsuma and Tobarama, the younger brother of the first headmaster, were standing on the other side with their own weapons out. Taijima muttered, So, you had the same idea, Butsuma. According to the elder Senju. Indeed, Taijima. The two adults suddenly jumped into the air as their younger sons engaged in a katana fight in the center. Stop it! Madara and the first headmaster yelled as they ran to their fighting families. Enough, Naruto said, causing the gathering to disperse. Shit, I have to end this quickly before this escalates. He thought grimly before employing a body flicker to materialize next to Izuna and Tobarama, just in time to deflect two weapons that were targeted at killing the two children. Anyone who attempts to hurt my brothers will not be forgiven, regardless of who they are. As he fell in front of Izuna, Madara let out an angry cry. The same thing here. When the first headmaster landed in front of Tobarama, he yelled, Madara, the first headmaster! Be calm and pay attention to what I say. Everyone stared at Naruto in curiosity as he gave the order. Let's all go home and fight another day. I'm sick of all this arguing, aren't you? Killing people and others killing those you care about is a never-ending cycle of hatred that, if we keep going in this direction, will eventually wipe out humanity. One day, I hope, the Senju and the Uchiha will be able to support one another as brothers in arms. That if we work together, we can free our world from the bonds of hatred. He had a determined expression on his face as he spoke fiercely. You want peace between our two clans? Butsuma asked, laughing aloud. Who among the Uchiha killed more of my clan's shinobi than you? Be honest. That was when I was trapped within my own hatred for the Senju after my best friend was killed by them, Naruto said, looking down in shame, startling both his family and the Senju. However, my first headmaster taught me that you are not as nasty as I had assumed. I envision a time when our kids won't have to lose their lives in combat because to him and Madara. Where they can age and experience the joys of a woman's tender touch, where they can age and watch the seasons change without worry, and where they can taste good wine. I see a potential for world peace in these two young lads. he proudly told his two astonished younger siblings. I would do anything to see them realize that dream. I want to trust what you say. Yes, I would. However, I am unable to trust you since I have lost too many relatives to you and your tribe. As he sheathed his kunai and leaped away, a bewildered Tobirama trailed behind him, but Sama said seriously, We will depart for today, but the next time we meet, we will be enemies. The first headmaster, as his students started to leave, Naruto said, Pass on the will of fire that burns brightly within you one day. No matter what happens, I am proud of you. He neglected to notice the boy's teardrop as he ran into the trees. With silent tears running down his cheeks, the Senju thought, Naruto-sensei, no matter what, I will make sure that I pass on your wishes and will to our village. I just hope that you will be around to do it yourself. As he told his children to jump into the trees, Taijima said, Come along, children, we've had enough drama for today. Make me proud, first headmaster, Naruto thought, smiling softly. After a week, opposite his family and the other members of the Uchiha clan, Naruto stood in his battle armor. Sochi, you remember the details of your mission? With a serious tone, Taijima inquired. Yes. After giving a blank response, Naruto found himself embraced by his father. I am to sneak into the Senju clan compound and steal whatever bit of knowledge I can find. The guy whispered. Be careful, my son. I will too, San, Naruto said, grinning and giving him a hug in return. Look after the clan till I get back. My precious little brothers, I'm so proud of you both and the fine men you are becoming, Naruto said as he approached his two siblings, bent down, and gave them both hugs after they had parted ways. Before releasing them and giving Madara a scroll, he muttered, That scroll contains 2 seals. Ka-san would be proud too. One is sealed with my own fire spirit art. Spirit art in the following styles: Dragon Flame Loud Singing, Great Fire Annihilation, and Great Fire Destruction. Only when one of you reaches specific conditions with the red-eye power will the other unlock what's inside. Use this power to defend the clan and each other, you two. I love you both, he said quietly before making his way back to the compound's entrance. I wish you well, Naruto-sama. Take caution. Have my children. The curse of the fangirls continues to afflict me, Naruto thought angrily as he flashed a smile at the audience before yelling, Goodbye, everyone. Naruto didn't notice his siblings' weeping eyes turning blood crimson with one tomo in each orb as he began to leap into the treetops. Nightfall/Senju clan compound. Standing atop the wall enclosing the rival clan's compound, Naruto fully concealed his chakra signature. Gazing northwest, he noticed a sizable structure with a red roof and the Senju emblem painted on the walls. That must be Butsama's home. First, I'll drop off first headmaster's gift. Then I'll get to the mission, he thought as he disappeared in a blur. Inside the house of the clan head. Otuto, you and Madara will bring peace to these war-torn lands. I believe in you both, Naruto thought as he slipped an unsigned note onto the young Senju's work desk, along with a long black headband with a blank metal plate in the middle of the cloth. He slipped a door open quietly and smiled at a sleeping first headmaster. After a few minutes of looking, he returned outside and discovered a sizable library. Naruto looked around the room and saw a long scroll leaning against the bookcases that surrounded the back of the room. What is this? His eyes widened as he unrolled the scroll and noticed a complicated storage seal on the parchment. Crap, I expected something to come out, but not this. Madara, Izuna, first headmaster, looks like I won't be seeing that dream after all, he thought sorrowfully as he was fully ensnared in the seal. It would be a century and 15 years before the world saw him. One of the most accomplished ninjas of the warring clan's era was Naruto Uchiha, who is also referred to as the first founder of Hyde Ninja Village, or the founding father of Hyde Ninja Village. He was mostly renowned for his formidable fire-style techniques and his unmatched command of the red eye strength. However, he was credited by us with establishing Hyde Ninja Village, defining the will of fire, and teaching his pupil, first headmaster Senju, also known as the first Ha-master, to believe in the will. Before his defection, Nuda's younger brother, Madara Uchiha, likewise fiercely believed in the will of fire. However, shortly after coming up with the concept of the will and Hyde Ninja Hamlet, Nuda vanished while on a mission and is thought to have passed away at the age of 15. Nuda Uchiha is still regarded as one of the key players in the history of Hyde Ninja Village. Have any inquiries? A tan man with brown hair, styled in a pineapple-shaped ponytail, asked his attentive students, while mostly attentive save for one girl who was staring out a window. Kazuko Uzumaki. Are you paying attention? The man's head amusingly grew larger as he screamed. The girl blinked and turned back to the teacher with a sheepish smile. She wore a long-sleeved black and burnt orange jacket that was left open to reveal a tight black t-shirt underneath that concealed medium-sized breasts. Use your imagination. A burnt orange thigh-length skirt, black spandex shorts with matching high-heeled ninja sandals, a large burnt orange now on top of her hair, and what appeared to be light orange nail polish. Kazuko laughed merrily and apologized. What will I do with you? The lesson is over for today. Keep in mind that the genin exams are tomorrow, so be sure to prepare and study diligently. Just as the bell sounded, Irika Yumino, the teacher, said, "Into it." Upon opening the door, she smiled at her luck in securing such a nice abode. The walls were a cream color with a few different paintings of nature hung on the wall. In the living room, she had a small cream couch with matching pillows along with a coffee table and a TV. The kitchen was also small, and it was nicely stocked. It's a common misconception that Kazuko exclusively eats ramen and that it's her favorite cuisine, but she actually loves strawberries like a drug. The blonde walked into the tiny bathroom, undressed, and then, after the water had warmed up, slid down until she was sitting on the cold tile floor, clutching her knees to her chest. Kazuko shivered as she finally let her happy mask fall and started crying without a face. "It's so hard," she muttered as the warm water poured down her body. "It's so hard to act so happy, when I hurt so much on the inside." The day after. "Uzumaki Kazuko," Irika yelled from the front table of the classroom, where he was flanked by his colleague Mizuki and rows of headbands with the Hyde Ninja Village symbol engraved on their metal plates. With a determined expression, the blonde walked up and said, "I'm ready, sensei," she yelled. "All right, transformation, replacement, and clone spirit art," Irika said with a smile as he prepared his clipboard. "Start," he said. With a single-handed seal, Kazuko exclaimed, "Transformation spirit art!" She changed into Hiruzen, the third Ha-master, in a plume of smoke. "Great!" Mizuki complimented. "Now for the replacement," she shouted. "Replacement spirit art!" as she abruptly moved a chair to change her body and then returned to her starting position. As he made notes on his notepad, Irika said, "All right, Kazuko, now for the clone spirit art." "The clone spirit art is the hardest one for me to accomplish. Hopefully it'll work," the Uzumaki mused as she sealed her hands and started to radiate blue chakra. "Clone spirit art!" She let out a determined scream, but the clone that emerged appeared to be brain dead as it lay prone on the wooden floor. "I apologize, Kazuko, but in order to pass, you must be able to use all three of the fundamental spirit art." With some pity in his voice, the scarred instructor declared, "You fail." Desperately trying to hold back her emotions, the girl hung her head and left the school. Front yard of the academy / half an hour later. Watching all the parents congratulate their children, Kazuko swayed back and forth on the swing with a solemn face until she caught sight of Mizuki perched on a tree branch, grinning sorrowfully. "Mizuki-sensei?" Why are you here? She tilted her head in question. Ah, Kazuko, may I ask if you'd like to go talk somewhere? He smiled casually in response. The white-haired teacher put a hand on her shoulder after she nodded, then body flickered them both away. After 5 minutes. So, Sensei, what did you need? With her legs hanging over the side of the balcony the two were presently seated on, Kazuko posed the question. Mizuki said nonchalantly. Well, I figured that I'd tell you about another secret method for becoming a genin. Secret method? With a faint smile and a hint of optimism, the Orange Clan blonde asked. Mizuki said, nodding. Yes. Tonight you have to enter Homemaster-sama's library covertly. A huge scroll with the Senju clan symbol can be found there. You have to take it and carry it to a shack southwest of Hyde Ninja Village, which is situated in the jungle. It's in a big clearing, so you can't miss it. Additionally, you need to master at least one spirit art that is contained in the scroll. Do you agree? Kazuko's turquoise eyes glowed and her face lit up with a fox-like grin. Of course, Debane. No issue, I'll go get it. Without observing Mizuki's sly smile, she yelled and sprang over the ledge onto the rooftops below. Southwestern Forest, later that evening. Kazuko leaned against the dilapidated wooden cabin and sat on the grass, embracing a big scroll that was red and white with a green Senju insignia in the center. Damn, Gigi really is a pervert, Kazuko said, panting lightly. He deserved that kick to the balls and fell for my sexy spirit art just as quickly as he did. Shadow clone spirit art. It can make solid clones that will transfer whatever knowledge it gains back to the user upon dispelling. She sighed as she opened the scroll and examined its contents. I can definitely utilize this for training, so it can be quite helpful. Let's get going now, she smiled, conveniently ignoring the death warning and excruciating migraine that came with eliminating too many clones at once. After an hour. After finally grasping the spirit art, Kazuko fell to her knees after defeating the 1000th shadow clone she had unintentionally called out. Wow, that spirit art costs a bunch of chakra, but I still have enough to try and learn one more technique, Kazuko said. Well? What is this? She wondered as she gazed at a strange seal that looked like 3 red tomo encircled by red diamonds. Curious, she sent chakra into the seal, and was taken aback as the tomo started spinning quickly before releasing what appeared to be a thick cloud of smoke. What the devil? Kazuko whispered, her cheeks starting to flush a little, and when the smoke cleared, she saw that an actual person was inside the seal. He looked to be 5 feet and 8 inches tall, with fair skin, 2 long tear troughs under his closed eyes, and spiky black hair tied in a low ponytail at the waist, with one bang partially covering his left eye. The young man was dressed in black gloves, purple armor that seemed to belong in the Clan War era, black ninja sandals with white medical tape wrapped around his shins, black gloves, and a black long-sleeved turtleneck shirt with both sleeves rolled up to just below his elbows. Normally, Kazuko detested perverts, but this one was the most attractive man she had ever seen. With a nosebleed, she thought, Mama Kazuko likes Debane. Irika appeared in the clearing abruptly, looking irate. Kazuko! Are you even aware of what you did? And why is your nose bleeding? And who is that boy? Then he asked sharply. The blonde laughed, and quickly wiped her nose with her sleeve. Hey Irika-sensei! I have no idea who that boy is, but he appeared when I directed some chakra into a seal inside a scroll. However, he does resemble Naruto friend team in certain ways. In any case, Mizuki-sensei informed me that I would become a genin if I took the scroll and learnt a spirit technique from it. However, I was only able to master one spirit art, she said. There isn't another way to become a genin, so why did? Irika muttered, looking perplexed. His ears perked up, and he shoved Kazuko away, only to be pierced in the thigh by a kunai. Well done, Kazuko. As he landed on a tree branch that overlooked the clearing, Mizuki said, Now give me the scroll and you pass. Avoid doing that. That spirit art scroll belongs to the first Homemaster's Forbidden. You were duped by Mizuki, Irika yelled. Tricked her just like the whole village did, right? The white-haired Chunin replied, grinning slyly at the two. Do you actually understand how the fourth Homemaster beat the Nine-Tails, Kazuko? Why do people act as though you don't exist? The girl from Uzumaki appeared perplexed and intrigued, and Irika yelled, No, Mizuki! Avoid doing it! Since no human can kill the Biju, the fourth took the best possible course of action and locked it inside a newborn child's body. That child is you. As soon as it was sealed within you, the Nine-Tails gained control of your body. The nine-tailed fox is you. With madness seeping into his voice, Mizuki screamed as he quickly spun a big shuriken in his palm after taking it out of a holster on his back. I'm the nine-tailed fox? That's why the villagers despise me? Why didn't Gigi tell me? Maybe I should let Mizuki murder me. Kazuko thought sorrowfully, blocking out the sounds of Irika's screams and the shuriken slicing through the air. A somewhat deep voice said angrily, I've heard enough of your pointless garbage. Kazuko's eyes widened when she saw the black-haired kid standing in front of her, having used his left hand to catch the big shuriken. The Uchiha clan fan insignia was stitched into the back of his turtleneck shirt. You saved me? Obviously. You are no longer the Biju itself, even if I have never heard of a Biju being sealed inside a human, the Nine-Tails, that is. Does a cup turn into water when water is poured into it? No, it doesn't. Despite her blush and sincere grin, the Uchiha boy's response was straightforward. It does disgust me that people would mistreat you for it, though. Which crazy are you? Mizuki lost the opportunity to destroy the demon, so he screamed in a fit of wrath. I am justice to those who are oppressed, the youngster said, dropping the shuriken and closing his eyes with a malicious grin. For those who are in despair, I am hope. I am Naruto Uchiha, he said, opening his eyes to reveal two crimson orbs with 3 tomo idly around his pupils. I am the heir of the great Uchiha clan, the Uchiha yelled, his voice laced with strength. Fearfully, Mizuki's eyes widened. And Naruto Uchiha? You passed away more than a century ago. How have you managed to survive? He started to tremble and asked. Last I remember is that I looked through the Senju clan's spirit art scroll and I channeled some chakra into a seal out of curiosity, Naruto said, raising an eyebrow. The next thing I know, I'm dragged into the damn thing and waking up here while you're having this stupid and uninteresting tirade about lovely girls being demons in disguise. Kazuko rambled inside, her face flushed. He called me cute. No boy ever called me that before. It's embarrassing, Databane. Irika thought in amazement. It's unbelievable that Ndosama is still alive and still looks 15. He claims that it feels like he was sealed just a few minutes ago. As a huge ring of water appeared out of thin air around him, Nuda's red-eye power narrowed at the silver-haired man. I will be getting answers about the current time period I'm in after this, but I figure I'll show you why I'm known as the most powerful Uchiha of my time, he said menacingly and started to speed through hand seals at a lightning-fast pace. Water style, water dragon bullet, he yelled, conjuring a huge water dragon with bright yellow eyes and hurling it at the traitor. As the roaring dragon smashed him against a tree and bit into his torso, instantly knocking him out, Mizuki muttered, Oh fuck. Sweating and pouting, Naruto said, Damn it, I wanted to dance a bit longer. As he walked over to the fallen traitor and used a kunai to cut off his jugular. The Uchiha turned to face the two stunned ninja and inquired, Who are you and where am I? Naruto-sama, you are in Hyde Ninja Village Geikir no Sado, Irika said with a smile and a bow. This is Kazuko Uzumaki, an academy student, and Irika Yumino, a village shinobi. You haven't been seen for 115 years. This settlement was established in the years after your departure by first headmaster Senju and your younger brother Madara, who formed an alliance between your clans. They acknowledged you as the real founder of Hyde Ninja Village since you came up with the concept for it and gave us the will of fire, which motivates all of the devoted Hyde Ninja Village nin," the man clarified. "First Headmaster Otuto, Madara Otuto, you've fulfilled my wishes," Naruto thought joyfully as his eyes widened and a single tear fell from his visible eye. With worry in her blue eyes, Kazuko rushed up to him and inquired, "Are you okay, Naruto-kun?" "Yeah, I'm fine, just happy that my little brothers accomplished my dreams in my absence," the Uchiha said, blinking in bewilderment at the suffix she attached to his name. "Tell me, does Hyde Ninja Hamlet have a leader if it is the Hamlet I imagined?" He smiled and asked the question. "Yes, the Ha-master is in charge of Hyde Ninja Village. 4 were present. Hiruzen Sarutobi is the third and current Ha-master, Minato Namikaze-sama was the fourth, Tobarama Senja-sama was the second, and the first headmaster-sama was the first." Iraka responded in his usual lecturing manner. Hiruzen-sama was actually the cherished pupil of first headmaster-sama and Tobarama-sama. Naruto smiled broadly, as he normally did when he was about to get into trouble. "Yeah, my student's student, eh? Well, let's visit him," he said merrily as he turned off his red-eye power. 20 minutes later, Hyde Ninja Village Geikir. When the pariah and the revered schoolteacher returned with not only the scroll but also a Uchiha lookalike dressed in very antiquated ninja attire, the people of Hyde Ninja Village looked at the returning trio with curiosity. More like, they were staring at Naruto, because he looks like a Uchiha, and his ponytail hides the Uchiha emblem on his back. The trio finally arrived at the front of the Ha-master Tower, where a sizable group of Chunin and Jonin had gathered, with Hiruzen in front of them. "Hi, Gigi! You won't believe who I discovered!" Kazuko shouted with joy. As for Kazuko-chan, who is it? As his pipe dropped from his lips, Hiruzen trailed off. "And Naruto-sama," he stumbled in surprise. "I've had a hard time coming up with a nickname for you, since it would be weird to call the student of my student Homaster-sama, so I think I'll just say, it's nice to meet you, brat." The Uchiha approached the elderly man with a smirk, ignoring the stunned crowd. "Why do you think I'm a brat? I am 68 years old," the Ha-master let forth a frustrated shout. Everyone laughed and temporarily forgot the scroll incident when Naruto remarked, "Well, I'm 115 years old, so you are technically much younger than I, brat." "Come, stupid old man. We have a lot to talk about, you three," Hiruzen murmured as he dismissed the other shinobi and beckoned the three inside the structure. After 30 minutes Homaster's office. After hearing Kazuko's version of events and witnessing her perform the shadow clone spirit art, Hiruzen sighed and sat back in his chair. "I'll send some ANBU to dispose of Mizuki's corpse," he said. "And Kazuko-chan." He threw her a faded black Hyde Ninja Village headband and continued, "I think you deserve a passing mark because you were able to study an A-rank spirit art in just 1 hour. You're a genin now. Take special care of this headband, as it was originally owned by first headmaster sensei." With tears in her eyes, the blonde wrapped the black cloth around her head and embraced the old man. "Thank you very much, Gigi!" she cried out. Before they parted ways, Hiruzen grinned and briefly returned his surrogate granddaughter's embrace. "So, Naruto, I'm going to presume you wish to be a Hyde Ninja Village ninja?" did he ask. Naruto grinned and nodded. "Yes," he answered. "I want to preserve what Madara, the first headmaster, and I built so long ago." Hiruzen handed him a dark green flak jacket and a Hyde Ninja Village headband with a short black cloth and said, "Very well then, it would be a waste to have you perform unnecessary D and C rank missions with your skill level, so I think it would be best to promote you to Jonin." "Sarutobi, I have 2 questions. To start, is my clan still in existence? Secondly, what is a Jonin exactly?" Kazuko discreetly giggled as Naruto inquired with an embarrassed expression. "Well, aside from the Ha-master, The highest rank is Jonin. Genin are rookie ninjas who can only go on D and C rank missions after graduating from the academy. Standard ninja with some field experience and a respectable level of ability, Chunin can complete C rank and B rank missions by themselves. But, in order to complete A rank missions, they must have a squad of other Chunin or a Jonin partner. Although elite ninjas known as Jonin are capable of completing any mission by themselves, most S-rank assignments necessitate a team, unless the Jonin is exceptionally talented. On the way out, I'll hand you a history book on Hyde Ninja Village. Hiruzen started to explain, then sighed. With the exception of you, the Uchiha clan is now down to 2 members. That should explain everything. His ancient voice was laced with grief as he said, "And your friend Uchiha, who is in your age group, and Itachi Uchiha, Nuda Friend's older brother, who went insane and killed every Uchiha except Nuda Friend and fled the village afterwards." "All right," Nuda murmured, casting a dubious glance at Hiruzen. "Won't I just have to murder the traitor?" "Yes. You are all dismissed now. You have the option of staying at the deserted Uchiha compound or at any apartment of your choosing, Nuda. Even yet, there are still some messes from the massacre, and some structures on the site have slight degradation. Additionally, attend the ninja license registration tomorrow." After taking a puff from his pipe, Hiruzen said, "I'll remain at the compound in Uchiha. Cleaning up shouldn't be that difficult. Besides, Kazuko." With a gesture of gratitude, Nuda said, "You can come to the compound anytime you want if you need someone to talk to or train with." Hiruzen handed Nuda a history book and waved the 3 of them off as he resumed his paperwork. The following day, Nuda walked away from the Hamaster Tower with his hands in his pockets, smiling at the villagers who waved respectfully at him. He is currently wearing his new relaxation attire, consisting of a black short-sleeved high-collared shirt with a large Uchiha fan on the back, black cargo ninja pants with medical tape wrapped around his shins, black ninja sandals, and his new headband fastened around his forehead. Apparently news travels fast around Hyde Ninja Village, as almost everyone knows that the historical figure Nuda Uchiha walks amongst them, though most citizens are doubtful, which is understandable. He's honestly surprised that Nuda Friend hasn't come to him yet, but it's only a matter of time anyways. His eyes swiftly darted to a nearby treeline and he smirked. "Good job. Despite all of the signs that my existence is genuine, you had your A and B, you trail me. A good leader wouldn't have an unknown walking around freely, after all." The Uchiha thought with silent praise. Suddenly, he felt a small mass bump into him. "Oh no, what caused you to bump into me? I'm Hyde Ninja Village Emeru Sarutobi, the grandson of the 3rd Hamaster, therefore you had better say sorry," the young lad with brown hair yelled. After giving him a confused look, Nuda grinned and said, "Ah, Hiruzen's grandson? It feels like your chakra. Hyde Ninja Village Emeru, it's nice to meet you. My name is Nuda Uchiha." He shook hands and introduced himself. The youngster shook Nuda's hand and pondered. He actually called me out by my name. Wait, isn't that the missing Uchiha guy that Gigi talks about sometimes? Well, how about I teach you something, Hyde Ninja Village Emeru? The Uchiha made an offer. Really? Dear Nuda-sensei, you are amazing! Before his new teacher snatched him up and body flickered off, Hyde Ninja Village Emeru yelled with joy. A few minutes later / Training Ground 7. Alright. I'll be teaching you a crucial chakra control technique today. Tree walking, Nuda said, grinning. Walking on trees? What is that? His student asked inquisitively. Well, basically you channel chakra to your feet and use it like a suction cup to keep yourself clinging to any vertical surface, Nuda said with a smile to the boy. If you use too little, you'll slip off. If you use too much, you'll blast off. Keep in mind to discover the chakra balance that feels correct. Saru, get to work. Maybe, Nuda thought to himself as he stood there grinning silently, watching his new student fall and try again and go a little higher each time, the fire in his eyes growing with each advancement. After a few hours, Naruto yelled, "Saru! You did a great job for the day. Come with me now, I'll show you something." As the Uchiha body flickered them away once more, the boy mumbled wearily, "Yes, sensei." First Headmaster's Head/Hamaster Mountain. As the sun started to drop, Naruto stood smiling next to Hyde Ninja Village Emaru and said, "Saru, look down into the village and tell me what you see." He was pointing to Hyde Ninja Village. After taking in the tranquil atmosphere and all of the happy smiles of the locals, the young kid said, "I see the village." "Saru, tell me about the village." "We live in a collection of buildings, correct?" Village Emaru Hyde Ninja answered. "Nope, but I don't blame you for your answer at your current age," Naruto said with a gentle smile and a brush of the boy's hair. "The village is made up of its residents who aspire to its prosperity. Even before Hyde Ninja Community was formally established, I saw the community in the priceless grins of its residents and the laughing of its kids. It is our responsibility to defend the people since they are the lifeblood of this place. We are passionate about caring for the magnificent Hyde Ninja Village Geikyu tree. We are strong because of the ties that bind each and every member of the Hyde Ninja Village family. Tell me about your dream, Saru," he asked. As he bit his lip, Hyde Ninja Village Emaru said, "I want to be Hamaster so I can protect the village just like my Gigi. The will of fire burns brightly within you, Saru, and I believe that one day you will be the pillar that supports Hyde Ninja Village," Naruto said with a laugh and a proud touch on the child's shoulder. "Saru, etch my words into your mind. You will be the Hamaster one day," he said, causing the boy to gaze at his new role model with joy in his naive eyes. Office of the Hamaster. Listening to you makes me feel like I'm in the presence of First Headmaster Sensei again," Hiruzen said, grinning as he saw the situation through his crystal ball. "One day, I'll end you all, little demons," he murmured wistfully, and then glared at the pile of papers. "You'll surely be a fine Hamaster one day, Naruto," he mumbled in an irritated tone. As he got out of bed and went to his closet, Naruto thought, "That one. It was much worse than the others. And what was with that last part, that weird voice spouting all of that nihilistic nonsense?" His eyes widened, and he felt sweat trickle down every part of his bare body. Naruto was just getting dressed in his usual clothes when he heard a frantic knocking from the front door of his new home, the former clan head's house. He left his nightmare thoughts behind and went to the front door, opening it to reveal a teenage boy with pale skin, onyx-colored eyes, and black hair styled in a duck's ass. The visitor was wearing a blue t-shirt with a high collar, tan shorts, white arm warmers, bandages around his shins, a Hyde Ninja Village headband, and blue sandals. Naruto smiled and moved aside, acknowledging the clear indications of Uchiha ancestry. "You must be a Naruto friend," he said. "I'll make some tea for us to sip while we talk, so come on in. I take it you have some questions, don't you?" "Yeah," said Naruto's friend, his eyes narrowing as he walked into the house where he had grown up. A few minutes later, Naruto and his friends sat in a tight quiet across from one another in the dining room of the house. "So, you're probably wondering what I'm planning to do with Itachi," the elder Uchiha made a direct question. In gratitude for his potential relative's attitude, Naruto's acquaintance grinned a little. "That's correct. But first," he leaned forward, his expression much more solemn, "I don't have any evidence that you are a real Uchiha. You may be a faker using transformation spirit art, as far as I'm aware. Show me, though, because no one can mimic the activation of a red-eye power." 3 Tomo were idly orbiting Naruto's pupil as his dark eyes bled into scarlet. "Is that good enough?" "Yeah," his fellow Uchiha said with a limp nod. "After that day, I never would have imagined that I would run into another Uchiha. What does it feel like to have a fully developed red-eye power, please?" "They have an intoxicating effect," That feeling made most of our clan arrogant, Naruto said, deactivating his do spirit art and giving his companion a serious look. It's almost like the world is in your palm, and nobody can stop you in anything you do. True strength comes from the effort we put into improving ourselves. Red-Eye power is just a tool. Remember that, and after you awaken our do spirit art, don't rely on it, or your abilities will stagnate. If we're done with the speeches, can you answer the question I came here for? Requested a friend of Naruto, putting the advice away for later. Well, to begin with, why do you feel that killing Itachi is your life's work? With a vile frown, the younger Uchiha said, You should be aware of the obvious. He killed our entire clan without feeling guilty. He claimed that he merely did it to see how far he could push himself. How come I wouldn't want to murder him? That's odd. According to what I've been told, the Ha-Master is the village's strongest person, followed by Ninja and Anbu. Would Itachi not pursue them rather than the Uchiha clan, which had a majority of ninja training with only a small number of ninja, if he really wanted to prove out his power? Furthermore, why would he even go so far as to murder civilians, including newborns? Naruto countered. TCH. We were the strongest clan in Hyde Ninja Village, as you and I both know. At least you are aware that, in your era, the Uchiha were one of the two most powerful clans on the planet. With a hint of perplexity in his voice, the sullen teenager answered. That fact alone probably made them his target. Additionally, you speak as if you were in the facility prior to Itachi's departure. Was there anything he said to you? Yeah. His Naruto companion clenched his fists. He said that the only way to beat him was if I devoted my life to despising him, and that I should come after him once I have the same kind of red-eye power that he has. Naruto was immediately alerted by the final line. Naruto friend, did he tell you what its name was? His tone was severe as he asked. Yeah, the Mangekyo red-eye power. Dude! What I'm about to say and show you is to remain a secret until I deem necessary. He spat, leaving his companion Naruto to stare at him bewildered. Who are you to give me orders? My friend asked in frustration. I am the heir of the Uchiha clan by right of the clan charter's rules of succession, Naruto said, glaring at his relative. The Elder Council will choose a new head if an heir disappears or passes away without a family to take his position. Furthermore, the original heir has the right to regain the throne by defeating his successor in a battle if he returns from his absence. The sole exception is if the returning heir is far stronger than the present head, in which case the heir will be reinstated without a combat trial. You are strong for your age group, but I am far stronger than you, my friend. You will obey me for the time being. With his pride badly bruised, the other Uchiha turned his head aside and groaned, saying, Fine, just spit it out already. Well, allow me to tell you of my best friend, Hideo Uchiha. Meeting rooms / Homemaster's mansion / meantime. To his left and right were the Elder Council of Hyde Ninja Village, which consisted of Koharu Yudatane, Hamura Midokado, and Danzo Shimura. Hiruzen gazed solemnly at all of the ninja and Tokubetsu ninja he had summoned to the meeting. Before we start, I'd like to tell you all about a young ninja that recently joined our ranks, Hiruzen said. Naruto Uchiha, you've probably heard the rumors that he's coming back. The statement was met with grumbling and gasps, and then Sixth Head Master Hatake abruptly got up from his chair and said, Oh Master Sama, that's a little unrealistic, isn't it? Is our founder coming back from the dead somehow? Have you thought about the possibility that he is posing as someone else using a transformation spirit art? Sixth Head Master Kun, I can appreciate your worries. I have a team of ANBU always keeping an eye on him, even if I think he might be the actual thing. His middle finger went up, followed by his ring finger. And in the event that he is genuinely Naruto Uchiha, the ANBU are there to detain and or kill him should he fall to the Uchiha's infamous curse of hatred. They are in place for 3 reasons. Hiruzen explained, holding up his index finger. They are watching to see whether or not he actually is Naruto Uchiha. Hold on. Why would you murder him for feeling hate? We all sense it. Anko Mitarashi, a curvaceous woman with purple hair pulled back in a spiky ponytail and two bangs framing her face, questioned. Hatred is a basic human emotion. With his customary stoicism, Danzo spoke up this time, saying, "The Uchiha clan is psychologically different from the general population. They experience love and hate far more strongly than the average person. In times of severe emotional trauma, the red-eye power itself wakes, however training reduces the likelihood of this happening. The Uchiha do love more, but when they lose the person they love, they also experience an unmatched hatred. A blind and furious revenge arises from this hatred. Because this village was the result of Naruto Uchiha's own ideas and dreams, as well as those of his younger brother Madara Uchiha and first headmaster Senju, he is referred to be the father of Hyde Ninja Village Geikyo. Other than his disappearance, that is all that is recorded in the history books. However, some ninja clans are aware of the portions of Naruto's past that are hidden, and first headmaster Sama wrote a thorough account of his life in his notebook, which we have kept secret. Koharu continued. The blood of the enemies of the Uchiha clan is all over Naruto's hands. There are rumors about his abilities, even if the majority of them were not documented. Master Sama chose to keep the ANBU on hand in part because of these legends. The second portion results from testimonies made by Madara and the first headmaster about Naruto's skill. Hiruzen grimaced as Hamura concluded his statement, saying, "They both stated that if Naruto had survived, he would have much outperformed both of them. They even thought that even if they cooperated, they wouldn't be able to compete with Naruto at his best." His smile darkened even more as he said, "The first person to acquire the eternal Mangekyo red-eye power was not Madara, but Naruto Uchiha. He even told me one thing that no one else knew except the Uchiha that lived during that era. According to certain rumors, he was the first to activate the standard Mangekyo." At the same time, several ninja who were aware of their past cried out, "What?" Kurina Yuhi queried the sixth headmaster, who was sitting next to her, with wide eyes. "What is this Mangekyo red-eye power that Master Sama is talking about, sixth headmaster?" "The Mangekyo red-eye power is the penultimate evolution of the Uchiha Kekkei Genkai," the silver-haired guy remarked, swallowing. "At the cost of eventual blindness, it grants the user power comparable to masters. Only the renowned Madara Uchiha, Izuna Uchiha, and Itachi Uchiha were believed to have it up until this point. However, there's still another level above that." Kurenai muttered, "The eternal Mangekyo red-eye power." "Yes. Although it is unknown if the eternal Mangekyo red-eye power bestows extra powers on its user, Madara's power multiplied multiple times after acquiring it, and the blindness that afflicted the original Mangekyo was eradicated." Everyone's attention was drawn to the elderly Master's coughing, which explained why the ANBU is always prepared to murder him. If he is, in fact, Naruto Uchiha, he may succumb to the curse and turn into a monster far worse than Madara. I brought you all here to let you know this so that, Kami forbid, you can all be ready to follow suit if the time comes. This is not an excuse to keep him to yourself out of fear. In fact, you ought to make an effort to establish a relationship with him so that he has somebody to turn to in the event of a crisis. You're all fired." Danzo turned to his comrade after the ninja had all quietly left the room and remarked, "I still think we should kill him before he can become a threat." "Old friend, we can't do that just yet. There's no reason to do so because he hasn't yet displayed any signs of hostility. Furthermore, after he establishes the right relationships with the locals, don't you think he may become a fantastic Hyde Ninja Village shinobi?" "You want him to be an asset instead of a threat," the shinobi of darkness sneered. "That's why you haven't killed him when he comes back to life." With a sigh, Hiruzen nodded in agreement with Danzo's assertion. "I don't like to think of individuals as assets, but he hasn't shown himself to us yet, regardless of if he was the one who established this community. As a military leader, I must view him as a threat as well as a possible asset, and I have no personal attachment to him. Awaiting further information is necessary. Perhaps he will demonstrate his differences from the other Uchiha. Home of Naruto. A friend of Naruto leaned back in his chair, amazed by the story Naruto had just told him. Like Itachi and Shursui, he and Hideo had been best friends their entire lives, eating, training, laughing, crying, and fighting together, brothers born on the battlefield, if you will. But Naruto ended the story by explaining how he acquired the Mangekyo Red Eye power and its level. Naruto friend, Uchiha said, looking up to see Naruto staring at him with a few tears in his eyes. No matter how evil a Uchiha with a Mangekyo can be, none of them can fake the bond they held with their most precious person, Uchiha said. I still haven't fully come to terms with Hideo's passing. Don't listen to Itachi since the power that will result from it isn't worth losing that tight friendship. It will simply leave a hole in your heart, if anything. Nerd. He really does look like he's broken within. Is that the price of power? If I get the power to kill Itachi, would it just leave me as empty as that after I've completed my goal? Said Naruto Buddy, looking down thoughtfully. Catching his kinsman's attention, Naruto continued. Oh, one more thing before I give you my response. While you're at it, ask yourself this: did Itachi ever seem like the type of person who would kill his own family on a whim? After some time, he said, No. Itachi. He loved our family very much and was always a very gentle brother. I think I once heard him chatting to himself. He was talking about how he detests having to learn how to be a ninja. He detested the idea of having to cause harm to others. Then I'll tell you my response, and you can choose whether or not you agree. Naruto said with a smile, loving the person Itachi used to be. I resolved that one day you and I would track down your brother and force him to tell us the truth about why he did it after listening to you talk about him. Itachi seems to strongly oppose the notion of murdering his family. Hell, he seems to detest the thought of murdering anyone. As a result, I believe the tale is considerably more complex than we now understand. We must be fully informed before we move to exact revenge on the clan. He clarified. As it stands, Itachi might be innocent or set up for the massacre. Naruto Buddy mumbled uncertainly. What you say makes sense. Very well. He agreed, but he was still a little unsure about the shift in his goals. I will follow your idea, but if it turns out that he really is who I thought him to be, I will be the one to kill Itachi. After Naruto got up and his companion did the same, they shook hands and said, Then we have an accord. I heard about this food stand that serves ramen, Pierre said, starting to move toward the entrance. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling rather hungry. I've never tasted ramen before, although some people claim it's the best dish in town. Do you want to go? Being able to spend time with family again let Naruto's pal grin a little. Why not? All I can hope for is if they have something that contains tomatoes. Ichiraku ramen stand / after 10 minutes. Although Naruto wasn't particularly thrilled with the stand's physical appearance, it was a tiny shack with white flaps covering the entrance and a few of seats lining the bar. He did enjoy the cozy vibe it exuded. It also helped that he was rapidly becoming quite hungry due to the smell of the Ichiraku's ramen. Although his mouth was watering from the fragrance of fresh tomatoes being cooked with his own bowl of soup, his pal was in agreement, albeit not nearly frothing at the mouth from the smell. A recognizable female voice called out, Tochijiji, 1 Kazuko-sized bowl of miso tebane, as they both heard the flap open. Onyx's eyes hit azure, and he grinned as he turned to see the girl he had helped enter the stand. Small world. Kazuko, it's good to see you again. Taking the stool beside him, the blonde teenager smiled mischievously and said, Naruto-kun, it's good to see you again. She then noticed Naruto's friend sitting next to him and glared. Team. The other Yukia gave her a frown in return, saying, Dobe. Perhaps a rivalry? Naruto wondered, perplexed as to why his two friends were so hostile to me. 3 bowls appeared in front of the 3 of them out of nowhere. Enjoy! I am Ichiraki yelled and started working again. Naruto snapped his chopsticks apart, brought them down, and got a good amount of noodles soaked in broth. His eyes widened as they went into his mouth, drawing his friend's attention, and then he found himself clutching the bowl to his chest while tears streamed down his cheeks. Where have you been all my life? He sobbed. I have finally understood, Dade Bane. With her lips full, Kazuko responded with a yell. During his meal, the Naruto friend grumbled. Geez, it's good, but it isn't worth getting so worked up over. Silence, you infidel! Naruto and Kazuko both aimed a chopstick at the perspiring Uchiha, who had fire in their eyes. Ramen-chan demands this respect, not wants it. They all screamed enthusiastically at once. Anyway, TCH. My companion put his money on the bar and left, saying, I'm leaving because I'm starting to feel like a third wheel anyhow. Do nothing that I wouldn't do. Naruto's face flushed a shade of red that few Uchiha could equal as he paused his fervent tirade, realizing what his cousin was implying. Shut the hell up! The laughing teenager started to walk back to his apartment after he yelled at him. However, because of her limited social abilities, Kazuko was unaware of the innuendo from her Naruto friend. She scratched her whisker marks and tilted her head cutely, asking, What the hell was he talking about? The blonde was immediately alarmed when she saw that Naruto's face was still crimson. Your face is red, Naruto-kun. Do you have a sickness or something? When Naruto felt Kazuko's gentle palm brush against his cheek, his face flushed a little more. I am feeling fine, he said. Please don't touch me. She removed her hand with a sheepish smile and said, Sorry, hee. So, tell me about yourself. It's fine, I'm just not used to things like that, he said, his face returning to its regular color. Interests, dislikes, pastimes, and future goals. That kind of thing. Kazuko said. All right, but I want to hear yours first. If that's your preference. I am Naruto Uchiha, the Uchiha clan's heir. I enjoy beaches, music, fire, ramen, family, and weapons. I detest evildoers, those who would harm my loved ones, and those who would betray their allies. My interests include swimming, going to the beach, occasionally pulling practical jokes, training, reading, and viewing the fall foliage. With each item on his list, Kazuko's smile widened. My dreams are to have my own family, find a way to bring peace to the world, and protect this village as its Hamaster once I've gained everyone's trust. He continued. That's really awesome. I once aspired to be the Hamaster. Really? He raised an eyebrow in question. Yeah, the blonde said, nodding. But I saw Hamaster Gigi doing all of that boring paperwork, so I decided on something different. Well, let's hear it. Okay, my name is Kazuko Uzumaki Tebane. I enjoy nature, music, whirlpools, beaches, ramen, and training. Instant ramen takes 3 minutes to cook, which I don't enjoy. I enjoy cooking, swimming, dancing, eating ramen, training, and pulling practical jokes on people. I want to be the ninja commander so that no one will think less of me, she cheerfully listed off. When I'm the Hamaster, you can be my ninja commander, Naruto remarked, grinning at her. That's a good goal you have there, so I'll tell you what. Kazuko grinned back and pumped her fist, saying, That sounds like a plan. I'll be your right-hand lady, pulling your ass out of every fire you start, and you'll be my commander. At her last sentence, the Uchiha couldn't contain her laughter, and she soon started laughing too. That evening Naruto's residence. Naruto was lying in his big bed, staring at the ceiling. A history book was on the nightstand to his right. After a while of talking and getting to know each other, he and Kazuko left the ramen stand as good friends. There was nothing romantic about her, she was just an interesting person. He would admit, though, that he thought the Uzumaki was far more attractive than the fangirls he had in his early days. He turned his eyes thoughtfully to the history book. Having just finished reading about the world's contemporary history, the Uchiha couldn't help but sigh in despair. Madara Toto. I really apologize for not being able to support you. He really apologized to his youngest brother, whom he loved the most, saying, perhaps if I was, you wouldn't have fallen so far. Then he frowned. I hate you for killing Izuna, but I also recognize that it was unavoidable given the era in which we lived. Senju Tobirama. Thank goodness you are already dead, or else you will suffer my wrath, whether you are a master or not. After finishing his nightly venting, Naruto withdrew into the nightmares that had tormented him for years, leaving the peace of reality behind. After a month, wearing the same outfit he found himself wearing in this modern era, plus fingerless black gloves and an olive-colored ninja flak jacket, Naruto strode into the mission hall with a confident gait. He discovered that missions weren't particularly difficult unless he had to battle the occasional missing nin that appeared in higher-ranked missions. Over the course of the month, some things had changed, but others had stayed the same. His friendship with Kazuko had grown to the point where, much to the chagrin of his new fangirls, she was rarely seen in the village without him, and vice versa. Since he was actually her first real friend of her age, Naruto probably should have expected her to cling so tightly to him. She even occasionally stayed at his house, and he found that he preferred her cooking to Ichiraka's ramen. Despite the fact that Kazuko only eats instant ramen, he didn't think much of her unusual culinary abilities. One of the most significant changes was that he was gradually but surely gaining the respect and trust of Hyde Ninja Village, which Naruto thought was because of his flawless mission record. In addition, he became a member of Hyde Ninja Village, not just on paper but in spirit, and he soon won over the civilians and lower-ranked ninja by lending them his assistance with training or other menial tasks in his spare time. Though he made friends with all of the sensei of Hyde Ninja Village and a woman named Anko, the Uchiha still had a long way to go before he was trusted by the entire ninja force. For some reason, everyone else seemed to be very wary of him, and all he knew was that it was annoying to watch them tread carefully around him. When the adolescent ninja found himself facing the Master and two other ninja trainees who were going through different scrolls, he halted his pace and said, Did you need something, Master-sama? Hiruzen gave a serious nod, saying, Team 7 has sent us a backup request. It appears that the client provided inaccurate information, which caused their C-rank mission to the Land of Waves to go awry. As a result, they anticipate seeing at least one ninja-level opponent when they resume journey tomorrow. I know you always have your supplies with you, so I need you to go right away. With a sharp nod, Naruto, who was paralyzed with concern for his friends and cousins, said, You can rely on me to save them. He then disappeared in a whirlpool of flames. A few seconds later, with a resolute look, Naruto leaped into the jungle just outside of Hyde Ninja Village. Hold on, Kazuko, Naruto friend, 6th headmaster. He murmured, I'll be there soon, and accelerated his pace. That 6th headmaster, goddammit! As he leaped from branch to branch amid a sea of verdant treetops, Naruto swore. He ought to have waited for backup to come, but he didn't. Anyhow, he had to keep going. The 6th headmaster must be fighting a really talented shinobi, Naruto concluded grimly as he broke through the canopy and looked across the misty river to see a huge unfinished bridge that connected the Land of Waves to the Land of Fire. On the side nearest to Wave, Naruto could feel two powerful chakras clashing against each other. He performed a single hand seal and disappeared in a flash, muttering, I have to get there quickly before anyone gets hurt. Clearing the Land of Waves. Manji formation, everyone! When the 6th headmaster yelled at his minions, they instantly formed a triangle around Tazuna. After only 5 seconds, a mist swept up around the teenagers and covered the whole space. Hee hee! Your frightened expressions remind me of my graduation. After I've covered the entire forest with your entrails, it will be even more nostalgic. A deep, unsettling voice murmured. What is this? Is this the power of a jonin? Kazuko thought anxiously as a bead of sweat trickled down her cheek, and she gulped nervously as a wave of doom swept over the genin like a tsunami, and they all started to tremble in fear. Her Nerdu friend was not far behind her in fear, as he was shakily leveling a kunai at his own throat. As he steadily brought the tip of his dagger dangerously close to his throat, the young Uchiha frantically thought to himself, "This killing intent is too much. If I end it now, maybe I won't have to suffer the pain at the hands of that monster." Nerdu, buddy! Don't worry, I won't let any of you die. Their sensei's eye smiled as he spoke, his voice rising from the fog. For what seemed like an age, there was a spooky quiet in the clearing before the same voice from earlier started to laugh. Is that right? Suddenly, in the center of Team 7's formation, a very tall man with tan complexion, brown eyes, spiky black hair, and a strong build emerged, raising his enormous blade, Kubikuri Hocho, into the air. Then, shall we see you try? With a roar, Zabuza threw the enormous blade downward, intending to cleave his target and all three genin in one swift motion. But the sword didn't get very far when Nerdu instantly teleported into the formation and used the kunai to block the Kiri missing Nin's strike, leaving Zabuza battling against him. You were saying? The Uchiha made fun of it. Kazuko instantly became happier and smiled broadly. Nerdu-kun! We really need to stop meeting like this, said the black-haired jonin, grinning as he turned to face the blonde female. We don't have time to talk, though, Nerdu said, glaring at Zabuza with a fiery red eye. I've got some ass to kick, he said. Another brat from Uchiha? With the eyebrow arched, the demon of the mist said, I thought you guys were killed except for that other brat over there. With a sly smile, Nerdu booted Zabuza to send him flying across the battlefield, saying, As you can see, I'm a bit of a special case. After giving the teenager a curious glance, the sixth headmaster turned to his students and grinned as they applauded their savior, Kazuko clearly being louder than the other two. It seems like I don't have much to worry about, he said. However, as his single eye grew sharper, he mumbled, This might be the ideal chance to evaluate his abilities, just in case. In the meantime, Nerdu strolled over to Zabuza, who was standing unsteadily, and put a hand on his hip, asking, Are you okay? Before we continue this little dance, you might want to take a moment to relax. What the fuck do those tree huggers feed their kids? Zabuza glared at his opponent and coughed softly. The Uchiha performed a single horse seal and inhaled deeply, whispering, Fire style, great fire annihilation. No matter, this will all be over in an instant anyways. Zabuza didn't have time to stare, so he performed a series of hand seals in a flash and spat out an equally massive wall of water. Water style, great explosive water wave. The swordsman gasped as the brat ejected a genuine tsunami of white-hot flames. As anticipated, a dense mist of steam was produced as the two spirit art met and cancelled each other out. Ho! You really seem to be able to dance well. Perhaps this won't be as dull as I anticipated, Nerdu said with a tone of admiration. The Nerdu friend's eyes were wide with wonder as he watched his kinsman's ability with the genin and Tazuna. Wow, I've never even heard of such a powerful fire-style Nin spirit art, he mumbled, eager to seek Nerdu for training when they returned home. Sakura, who believed that Nerdu Buddy was the best shinobi one could be at their age, was also astounded by this performance. So, this is a ninja-level battle, Sakura said. Is that the Uchiha's actual power? However, Kazuko was leaping up and down like a hyperactive child and smiling like a crazy person, not realizing that her whiskered cheeks were flushed. Woohoo! Go, Nerdu-kun! Kick the ass, Dabane of Nobrow! She's definitely your kid, Nudamamne, said the sixth headmaster, sweating at the young Uzumaki woman's actions but never taking his eyes off the fight. Kid, give me all you have in this battle, Zabuza said, anticipating the young Uchiha's charge from inside the steam. My blood is really starting to boil now, even though I didn't have high expectations at first, he yelled. As you wish. Try this, he said, channeling chakra into his fist, instantly causing cracks in the sword as Naruto suddenly exploded through the fog and hurled a punch at his opponent, who stopped it with the flat of his blade. What? Momochi let out a cry. With a sly smile, Naruto twisted his body and kicked Zabuza in the jaw, sending him soaring upwards into the air. The Uchiha then blended up to his opponent, and kicked him higher and higher until he found a position beneath the flinching demon. The shadow of the dancing leaf? The teenager grinned as the Kirinin snarled. Yes. A few weeks ago in Hyde Ninja Village, I encountered a couple of strange people wearing spandex who kindly taught me this move. But from now on, everything is unique. Naruto shouted as he began a series of punches and kicks to Zabuza's sides before punching him in the stomach with enough force to send him barreling into the dirt. It didn't end there, as the Uchiha fell like a stone in water, slamming a final chakra-powered kick into his enemy's sternum while roaring, Tai Spirit Art! Lion's Barrage! Gak! While Kazuko and Sakura muttered, Cool! While Naruto Buddy simply gave the usual Uchiha HN of appreciation, everyone could only gaze and wonder as the ground cracked slightly before breaking apart completely in a way that was appropriate for the stories of 5th Head Master Senju's renowned strength. It was an innate Uchiha characteristic, almost like a secondary language, but it sounded no different from the grunts of disapproval or displeasure. Looking mercilessly at Zabuza's motionless and bleeding body, Naruto leaped away as dust covered the surrounding area. Are you finished yet? Your steps are still far too shallow to compete with someone like me, even though you may have danced brilliantly for a few short moments, he said in a mocking tone. Not a chance, he whispered with a sharkish grin as crimson blood stained the bandages covering his mouth. I haven't been roughed up this much since I fought that bastard Yagura, he said, shakily rising to his feet as blood trickled from his numerous wounds, even though he was using his blade as a makeshift cane. I'm enjoying myself immensely. Yagura? Yes, I do remember you now, Naruto thought, recalling what he had read about the Kirigakyo bloodline wars. I've read that the botched coup d'état that sparked the insurrection was instigated by you. Before the 4th Mizumaster finally overcame you and made you leave the nation, you battled him to a draw for some time. Yes, brat, what's it to you? I hate to be reminded of my worst failure. The revolutionary growled fiercely. There once was a man like you that I would have been happy to respect and have a drink with. Instead of joining the rebellion, why have you turned to such vile missions? It's probably still in operation, the Uchiha inquired curiously. Mission accomplished, he whispered as a brunette figure in an ANBU mask and a rather feminine kimono dropped onto the ground beside the fallen ninja, checking his pulse as he snarled again and was about to raise his blade when 2 needles flew out of the trees, piercing his neck and causing him to crumple lifelessly onto the shattered earth. Naruto pointed a kunai at the ANBU's neck and angrily said, It would be in your best interest to identify yourself, stranger. But he withdrew his weapon when he felt 6th Head Master put his hand on his shoulder. This man is a Kirigakyo hunter nin, Naruto. His task is to destroy the bodies of missing ninja and exterminate them. The 6th Head Master San is right, the Kirinin said, nodding. I appreciate you making him weaker for me. I have to take the body somewhere safe to dispose of it properly, if you don't mind. Farewell, the ninja said monotonously as they started to disappear in a whirlpool of water, corpse in tow. There are too many secrets in it that could fall into enemy hands. After a few moments of silence, Kazuko said, What the heck, Databane? He completely pilfered our kill! Those needles didn't kill him, they lowered his pulse rate to the point of near death. He'll be back, Naruto thought, unconsciously mimicking the sixth headmaster's thoughts as no one noticed the two ninja narrowing their eyes. Oh well, I was beginning to like him too. Are we going to travel to your house now, Tazuna-san? While their elderly customer nodded quickly, the elder Uchiha sighed. I think that sounds good. We're hoping to return before more super ninja crazies arrive. Goddamn, I'm thirsty! His guards started to perspire as Tazuna yelled, downing a bottle of sake. In the land of waves somewhere. Are both of you aware of your mission? A masculine voice in a disembodied form asked his two shrouded minions in a pitch-black cavern. Yes, we are supposed to assess Naruto Uchiha's level of proficiency and invite him if he passes our test. A grim voice answered, and his partner gave me a measing laugh. If the opportunity arises, we are also to capture the Ninetales. I hope he rejects us if what you told us is accurate. It sounds like a lot of fun to fight Naruto. With a maniacal smile, another sharkish voice said. The disembodied leader, a man with purple rippling eyes, spiky hair, and a black cloak decorated with crimson clouds, remarked impassively. Get to it, we're wasting too much time. Itachi. Kisame. The two S-class criminals disappeared, leaving the leader alone. Naruto Uchiha, the boy whose power can rival that of our true leader, the strange man stated, holding out his palm, envisioning the world inside. We can actually bring about the serenity Yahiko had hoped for with his assistance. The man's eyes grew piercing, and he tightened his hand, as though he were attempting to slam the harsh world that had stolen everything from him. The world will then genuinely understand pain,